friends, Michelle here at the intersection of pedagogy and technology. And today I want to talk about a method in your classroom to prevent students from turning in AI plagiarized, or agerized as I call it, assignments to you. And it may seem a little counterintuitive, but bear with me. I'm speaking today from the voice of experience as opposed to speaking from the literature. And so I just want to talk a little bit about my own classroom experience over 23 years and what that looked like in terms of convincing students I knew more about the technology than they did. I've noticed in my job, which involves a lot of work one-on-one with teachers and small groups with teachers, I've noticed that there seems to be a certain teacher who doesn't want to talk about AI with students because there's a belief in there somewhere that if we talk about this, if I show it to them, then they're going to start handing me in plagiarized work. The funny thing is, when we're talking about technology, it seems to work the opposite of that. Let me explain. If you bring something up on the screen in a classroom environment and you talk about it, you as the teacher are automatically in the role of being the authority, and in the minds of your students, that makes you the expert. So when you bring up ChatGPT and you show them a few things, it communicates a very subtle but very important message. And that message is, I know this exists, I know how to use it, and if you use it, I will bust you. And that might be all you need to do. In my experience, which the majority of my teaching years were spent in junior high, and anybody in education knows that junior high kids are a very unique beast, and they like to prank, they like to pull stunts, and they like to see what they can get away with. I was always the teacher that they felt knew more about technology than they did. Yes, I taught tech, but I taught it through a very specific lens, and as needed, depending on what the current challenges online were or what online safety was. I was teaching tech before social media existed. So I've been there all along the way for some of these revolutionary technologies. And in my experience, and you can disagree with me, this is just me speaking from experience, when I would talk to kids about stuff and show them stuff, I was not the teacher they would target for that. If I was not working currently as a coordinator of educational technology and I was still in classroom, I would absolutely be bringing ChatGPT and Gemini, probably different days, up onto my screen and talking with my students about what it is and when it is acceptable to use it and when it absolutely is not acceptable to use it. If you've watched my video about 5 ways to ascertain if a submitted assignment may have been generated by AI, those are also things you can talk to the children about. Let's turn this into a positive. Let's underscore the value of the human contribution. AI generated text generally lacks voice, it lacks experience, and it lacks insight. It tends to recycle the same idea around with just adjustments to the phraseology. There's actually no meat beyond the very basic tenets of the writing. This gives us a beautiful opportunity to talk about the value of the human experience and the value of their voice. I'm no economist, I'm an educator. But if I were an economist, I would probably forecast that somewhere down the road, the most valuable things on this planet are going to be the things that were created or were generated by humans. We are going to have plenty of data, plenty of video, plenty of images, plenty of text, books, you name it, that's going to be created by AI. I think that our future commodity is going to be humanness, because we bring something very different to the discourse than what AI, or at least AI at this point in time, can. I'm also not a futurist. I'm a student of current technologies, and I love to think about these things, but I don't know any better than you do where this is all going to go. So bring it up on your screen. Show them that you know. Talk to them about how to use it. Do some examples. Use it for some grammar. Put a sentence in and then ask it to make the sentence stronger. Ask it to make the sentence funnier. Do some of those things. Have some fun with your class, but leave your students with the taste in their mouths that you know about this, and that simply put, you are not the one to screw around with. You can do that. Do it confidently. You are the authority in your classroom. You are the leader in your classroom. And you are, at the end of the day, in their perspectives, you are the authority. Make yourself the authority on this one. Even if you're not confident, you don't have to be confident about all of the things. You just need to seem to those kids and their children. You need to seem to those children like you understand the ins and outs of this, and leave them feeling like you know way more about this than they do. And trust me, it won't be hard. If they bring up questions, turn it into a class discussion. You don't have to know all of the answers. If somebody wants to ask a silly question to try and corner you, turn it around to a class conversation. If they want to ask you an overly technical question, tell them that, you know what, that's a great question. I don't actually have the information on that, but give me a day or two and we'll get back to that. Does anybody else know the answer to this, or does anybody else have some insight? Turn it into a conversation. You don't have to be the expert, but they are going to be grateful to talk about a current and modern topic. They're going to be grateful to have had a chance to look at this in school, and they're going to consider the things you say about it. Academic integrity is super important, and we've talked about that over the course of decades in the classroom. I remember doing bibliographies when I myself was in school. And so citing your sources has been a thing, but we've been lucky in K-12 that we haven't had to bear quite the same burden with plagiarism that the higher education has had to deal with. We've been able to be a bit of a training ground to teach kids citing your sources is important. And we've been able to leave it to the post-secondaries to handle things like APA and how to officially cite things. I'm not saying that that's changed, but we have a new player in this game now. And so if students are going to be using AI, lay out the rules. Tell them when they can use it, when they can't. Talk about how to use it to improve writing and where the line is between improving your writing and plagiarizing something. You know the difference. Turn it into a class conversation, and it doesn't even have to be a class conversation that goes somewhere. The purpose is that they know that you know, and once they know that, they'll find a different teacher to plagiarize for. It won't be you. I can almost promise. Not quite, but I can almost promise you that. So take that for what it's worth. You may disagree, and that's totally cool too. We all have different experiences in our classrooms, but that's my thought for today. And if it resonates with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments as to how the conversation in your classroom went. And even further to that, I would love to know what some of the topics that your students brought up. I don't have students anymore to gain that insight in that really authentic classroom experience, but I would love to hear it from you. So if you're willing, please drop me a comment about your thoughts on this idea. It's a topic of conversation for all of us educators. And have a great day.